Welcome back, friends. Here we are for fair fighting rule number 10, which is entitled, Be Strong Enough to Admit. Now, we're going to start off on a bit of a tangent. This is going to be my final lesson on Chinese Sign Language, and it's going to be for the number 10. It goes like this. So it's palm first, and then you flip your hand. Just to recap, from 6 to 10, this is number 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You know, I just thought it was interesting that there's a culture that can count from 1 to 10 on one hand. I thought it was interesting, and I wanted to share it with you. Now, back to the subject at hand. The title to this video may not be very precise, but what I'm intending to get at is honesty. Honesty with yourself. You know, it's hard to get through life if you're not going to be straight with yourself. Now, honesty with your partner, well, that may or may not take some doing, but if you can get there, it's a beautiful place to be. There are any number of things that can get in the way of you admitting a mistake or admitting some wrongdoing. You know, among the more obvious ones might be personal pride, embarrassment, stubbornness, fear, and I'm sure you could add more to the list. I'd like to think of myself as someone who's not hung up on finger pointing. I'd like to think that finding out what the problem is more important than calling out the person who's responsible for some wrongdoing. Now, I will qualify that statement by saying that as long as that doesn't involve criminal activity or nobody gets injured, right? In those two situations, I probably believe that it's best to identify the wrongdoer. We've likely all been in those situations where either you or your partner is at fault, and each of you knows who's guilty and who's not. And, if it's your partner who's at fault, you might be thinking something like, why can't they just admit it? And if you're the innocent party, that might seem like such an obvious thing to ask of your partner. You might even want to say to your partner, if you would just say you did it, that would help me get past this moment. Or it would help me heal. Or it would help me in some other way. That is one of those strange things in life. When you're on the innocent side of things, it seems like such an easy thing to ask. But when you're on the guilty side of things, it feels nearly impossible to speak any words that would admit guilt. Oddly enough, it's actually both partners that contribute to the overall honesty process. Now, let me try and explain that with an example. Let's say that you accidentally scratch the side of the brand new family car. Your partner discovers it and questions you about it. Now, if your partner has a history of punishing you for things you've done, especially when your misdeeds are not life-altering events, well, in that situation, you may actually consider not admitting responsibility for a simple paint scratch. But when you deny guilt, or even start making up stories, you do that once, twice, it can start you down a path in your relationship that you'll likely regret later on. But if you know your partner is going to say something like this, honey, would you please be more careful? But you know what? Now that the car's got a scratch on it, I guess we can both stop being so nervous and actually start to enjoy driving the car. That sort of talk creates an environment that's conducive to honesty and admission of responsibility. So here we are again with another example of how each partner contributes to the relationship and underscores the importance of balance in a relationship. So help each other recognize their contribution to this aspect of a relation, and I believe it will help strengthen your partnership. That's all this time, folks. Thank you very much for watching Landry, the Average Reasonable Person.